Hello, everybody. I am Nasira and I am the energy architect. Today, we have with us somebody very, very special, Sunil Deshmukh. Sunil, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you too. Sunil, I know you're really busy. Thank you so much for making the time to come on with your extensive travel and all the work that you're doing. I am so grateful that you made time to talk to us.
My pleasure to talk to Energy Architect. I really like the name Energy Architect, and I'm always available for the right cause at the right time.
Thank you, Sunil. Sunil, today, we really want to go through your journey because you are now a global leader. And I'm just going to introduce you now to the audience for people who don't know Sunil. So, he is a senior management professional with global experience. In his career spanning over 3 decades. He is well rounded and is experienced in business management from developing business strategies to managing operations and providing broad level, board level oversight and governance. He has worked across a range of consumer markets, including Africa, Asia, Middle East, and Singapore. Working with global experiences and enterprises in diverse cultures and geographies has given him an edge in creating winning solutions whilst addressing multi-dimensional business complexities. He has lived and worked in East Africa, South Africa, Middle East, Singapore, and India. He has handled businesses globally and traveled worldwide. Some of the organizations that he has worked in the past are McDonald's India, Foster's Beer, Indo Jordan Chemicals, AM International Holdings Singapore, and he has worked across various industries. He's currently the global chair and director at Institute of Management Accountant, IMA USA, and he practices executive level coaching and sits on multiple corporate boards as an independent director. Sunil, this is such a vast, varied, rich experience, and I'm sure it's taken you time and a strategy to build this. I'd love to hear about your journey.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Nasira, for my introduction. And I always feel humbled when someone introduces me because I know I'm not that a great guy. But when you read out introduction, people can think I'm a great guy. I am a basic layman, lots of common sense. That's my differentiator. I always say that, always use this terminology. Common sense to an uncommon degree, it's what world calls wisdom. And I think I have huge common sense. I have developed the ability to uh, to learn common sense with a lot of difficulties, definitely. My journey, Nasira, is definitely an interesting now I see in the hindsight. I started, I came from a very small town in Maharashtra, studied completely in a vernacular language up to my BCom. So class 1 to BCom, I studied in a Marathi medium, which was very small town. And what has happened is really, I don't know how it happened, but I stood first in my BCom examination in the entire university. So I was a gold medalist in BCom. I definitely knew that it is something impossible for me to happen. But that one aha moment changed my entire life. That getting first in the university, people's expectation from me raised or got raised very high, even my expectations. So over a period of time, I shifted my career. I studied a lot. I became a qualified cost and management accountant from India, company secretary, a lawyer. Then I did my USCMA. I went to Oxford for my leadership program and many more things. And of course, now I have my all coaching qualifications in the world I do have. But I always say that the theme of my growth and development and leadership journey is learn from failures. Be vulnerable. If you have problems, openly discuss those problems. Do not hide your problems. And keep learning, keep growing, have a growth mindset always. So this is, in nutshell, I would say that is my journey.
Wow, you're very, very humble, Sunil, because for people who don't know, Sunil is the first Asian to sit on the global chair, and that's not a small feat at all.
Yeah, thank you. It's a 105-year-old American body, world's largest body of management accountants, 140,000 members worldwide, and I'm the only second non-American or the first male non-American global chair of IMA. And it's really, really very humbling experience. And I can't express in the words when I sit on the global board, multiple directors all over the world, and I chair the meeting. I had a chance last week. I was in Dallas. We had a board meeting, and it was really a very different experience. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? Every time I connect with you, you're in a new city in some part of the world.
Yeah, I love my traveling. I love my traveling.
uh, Sunil, you came from this very simple, humble beginning, and you've grown so much over the time. And, you know, the one thing that I know, and I have experienced it myself, is that, when you're on the top, you suddenly find yourself very lonely. And I'll give you a small example of me. When I reached the top, I, I'm a undercover people pleaser, seriously. And when I found myself all alone, I felt as though, people stopped liking me. And it was so important for people to like me. And I know that this was my challenge. And uh, people on the top do feel that. And what has your experience been?
Yeah, and an interesting question, and thanks for asking that question because I very firmly believe that executive loneliness is the most neglected topic in the leadership management across the world. And this is my firm belief. And I have sort of done a lot of study on this topic. I have studied psychology, by the way. I'm a certified counselor also. Now, coming to the executive loneliness, I would say that I have personally gone through this dilemma of executive loneliness when I was a CEO in Jordan, or when I was in Singapore, or even when I was a CFO of multiple multinational companies. Now, the concern is there is a stigma attached to the executive loneliness. And I use this term very often that psychological distress is an equal opportunity victimizer.
Mhm.
Psychological stress is an equal opportunity victimizer. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. What happens in today's world, multinational companies, all these big companies, they talk things like psychological capital, psychological safety, and all those things. But all those things are applicable to the people who are in a management category, your managers, your staff, your employees, and all those things. No one talks about the psychological safety or mental issues for a leadership management. That's a big concern. And executive loneliness is the one thing which what I how do you define executive loneliness or what is executive loneliness? So I have some sort of I have created my own way of interpreting. It's not a definition, but I would say that executive loneliness can be in the form of how can you connect with the or know that if someone is going through the executive loneliness, it can be in the form of loss of excitement to a leader or loss of excitement to perform better could be executive loneliness. It could be loss of motivation, right? It could be being under distress. It could be having an anxiety at any point of time. Whenever you do something, you have anxiety. Loss of tolerance, right? Loss of empathy. As a leader, empathy is very important. But when a leader starts feeling that he's not empathetic to someone, maybe he's going through executive loneliness. Carrying tension. When you go home, you carry the tension. When you go to the office, you carry attention. You sit in the car, you're carrying attention. And sometimes under the fear is also, these are some of the traits or some of the, you can say, areas one can identify executive loneliness.
Yeah, that
I
was
have,
very deep.
sorry, I have personally gone through these things, not to that bad extent, because I quickly learn how to overcome that.
Yeah, we would really love to know some of those strategies because at some point or the other, I'm sure all of these have been experienced by leaders. So this is really a silent struggle, if you may say that. And many executives really appear successful, but this deep sense of loneliness kind of eats you up inside. It makes you wonder if I'm doing the right thing. Am I doing my job properly? You know, why am I lonely? It should have been the other way around, right? And how do you think leaders can balance and maintain an outward image of strength while acknowledging their inner struggles? Because this is a real thing, people look up to leaders for strength, but then the leaders also feeling these emotions.
Yeah.
And how do you balance this?
So it's a difficult balancing act, even though a leader is supposed to balance so many other things. This is the internal balance. Let's give the example of, we have that ear balancing thing in our body, right? If you lose the balance in your ears, you start, it's exactly same situation as far as the internal emotion and external presentation is concerned. The biggest problem here is that we assume that leaders are not vulnerable. The image of leadership in our mind, through education, through TVs, through movies, or whatever it is, we think that they are the best people in the world. Nothing happens to them. They never cry. They never get under tension. That's wrong. They are human beings. So a leader goes through a struggle, internal struggle. On one side is he or she is a human being. On the other side, he or she is struggling to demonstrate to the world that, no, no, I'm still very strong. My strengths are there and all those things. So what happened in this process? Over a period of time, a leader may lose his or her own personal identity. And when you start acting, now you are coming to the acting side. When a leader starts acting to demonstrate to the people, let's say employees, stakeholders, customers, distributors, buyers, suppliers, shareholders, he's a different human being. He's acting now. But within his inside, he knows that he is not that person. So compromising the value systems of any leader is the biggest problem of executive loneliness. But
Mm.
knowing at the right point of time by the leader that he is or she is not himself or herself at that point of time, that's the litmus test. Very difficult. But I'm saying with the technology in the sense access to the data, knowledge, information, access to so many other ways of connecting with the people, one should easily find out this struggle and try to create, I would say a Chinese partition, but try to create a partition between your internal issues and your external issues and don't mix them.
Right. So emotionally disconnect the two.
Because emotional intelligence is the most difficult aspect, right? I don't want to get into the study discussion on emotional intelligence, but your ability to manage your own emotions and your ability to manage the emotions of people around you, that's exactly is emotional intelligence I have defined, right? 5 aspects. But ability to manage social emotions is an expertise of a leadership. That's what he or she is meant for. And they have been doing it for so many times, right? But ability to manage your own emotions, no one teaches you. And that's where is the problem. Education of emotions, emotion management or emotion, no one gives you emotional intelligence. Unless you study a topic like psychology or some specific topics, no one teaches you emotional intelligence. Even when we are growing up, we have not been very systematically taught how to manage our emotions. When we get
Yeah.
very angry as a young boy or young girl, parents will take count 1 to 10, right? That's a diversion tactics. That's
Yeah.
temporary. So how does a leader manages his or her own internal emotion? That's a question mark.
Right. And at, in the midst of all of this, you need to be so authentic as well. Because I have seen that when you're not authentic, you're not consistent,
Yep.
in the way you deliver. So
Yep.
it is so important also for leaders to really connect with their authenticity, and really bring out what's so true to them, in whichever way.
Yep.
And
I, sorry, go ahead.
you were telling me, please tell me.
No, I was saying you're hitting the right point. Authenticity and trust. These are the two pillars of a successful leadership. No doubt about that. Please go ahead, then we'll discuss that.
So, mental health is a huge topic that we talk about these days.
Yep.
And, keeping this mental health in roles where there is such high pressure, how do you personally manage this mental toll of leadership, especially when you're constantly expected to deliver these results, even under that insane pressure and expectation?
Yeah. Great question and very difficult to answer straightforward. Based on experience and my study, I would try. So one is leadership is always under stress, and mental stress is a one thing because we have internal stigma and society has a stigma about that towards mental whatever is distress or stress, or we do not accept that we are going through a problem. So I always say that the first thing a leader need to identify, anyone, any person need to identify that whether are you suffering, suffering is still a very strong word, are you going through something which is not normal to you?
Mhm.
Identifying that is first very important. Second, once you identify that, then you need to reflect upon what is that is happening to you, which was not happening previously. So
Right.
writing down your reflections is the first way of identifying are you going through a mental distress or not. Once you some, I'm not saying even 10% that you are going through some sort of mental distress, you need to identify what are the ways and means of handling that or managing that. And as a leader always is under pressure, be it pressure from stockholders, be the shareholders, stock market, suppliers, board of directors, employees, reverse pressure. So they have to manage the pressure, and pressure management is not easy. No one teaches you how to manage the pressure, by the way. It's all by trial and error. Everyone. But managing the mental distress, or first step is identify that you are going through a problem. Second thing is, if you come to know that there is some problem, go to an expert. And now, when I say expert, does not mean a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm just saying go to a person who has got a neutral view about you, who is not biased about you. Go to him or her and ask them, are you seeing some change in me over the last 6 months, over the last 3 months, right? One person must be neutral, must not be emotionally attached. You can't go and ask your wife. She will immediately tell, or your husband, they will immediately tell, but they are emotionally attached to you. So you have to clear that by. So go to a neutral person. And that's where coaching, mentoring can help. Other thing is you go into the peer networks. See, peer network is, let's say there is a leadership community, or there is a CEO, CFO alliance, something like that, where you meet the people, you try to ask right type of question to these people. And this is what I was doing in Singapore when I was a CEO and I was managing a club like this, where all the people who are going through this type of problem, we used to meet once in a month and we used to discuss this thing very openly with the full guarantee that this is all confidential. No one will know anyone's name and no one will discuss outside. So having that network or having that ability or audience who will listen to you, that is also very important. The biggest problem to a leader is they do not have that audience or in-house audience. You can't speak to your board of directors that I'm going through a problem. You can't speak to your employees. You can't speak to your peers. So how do you express that problem to someone else? You can't talk to your children and wife. So where and how do you do that? That's the big question mark. And 50% of the mental distress problem will get solved if you're able to speak to someone.
Um, that's wonderful. Very articulately, you just hit the nail on something very, very important. And that is that gap between the knowing and the action. That was your reflection.
Yep.
That's
Also, just to add to that, you need to accept that you as an individual is vulnerable. Vulnerability is not a bad thing, but we have been taught that vulnerability is a bad thing. And making what you can say, you are accepting the vulnerability itself is a big.
um so I want to talk about breaking some taboos. Okay, what do
Mhm.
you think discussions around loneliness and mental stress? Why do you think they are considered taboo in leadership circles? And how can leaders initiate more open conversations?
So one thing, of course, it's a lot of things involved in this question. One thing is the deep-rooted belief in our corporate management that leaders are not vulnerable. Leaders are the strength finders. Leaders creates a lot of energy. And so everything is demonstrated in such a way, even you read the management books of anyone, they will show that leader is like a Superman, right? So that is the first reason that there is a taboo. A leader comes with the belief that I am a Superman or Superwoman when he internally knows it is not possible, but he demonstrates like that. So again, acting, I always give the example, a theater artist, when he or she goes in the theater, is a different personality or she is a different personality. When you come back, you have to come back to your normalcy. And those who don't come back to normalcy, you know what happens to them. And there are enough examples in Hollywood and Bollywood. I don't want to get into that. But first thing is leader need to accept the vulnerability. That is one aspect, breaking the taboo. Second thing is he or she need to start discussing this taboo with someone. No, that is also a taboo. How can I discuss this with someone?
Yeah.
So that you have to break your own mind or break your own comfort zone and start discussing that with someone else. And identifying that someone else is also very, very. Third thing is, why not create a peer group within an organization? Not necessarily with your subordinates or with your board of directors, but at a parallel level, you can have a group of people, a peer group, who can discuss these things openly. I always believe that if you have got an opportunity which is next door to you to talk to, is always good. If you wait for someone, oh, I will meet someone, oh, but they meet only once in a month, they have 2 hours driving distance, I will not go. So give the first more advantage, like what you say, or who is your neighbor, just go and talk to neighbor, or like create a peer group within your comfort zone. That's another area. Second thing is I always think that basically confidentiality is again a big thing in our minds. We always think that mental distress is very confidential. How can I talk? But one has to look at mental distress not as a problem statement, but it is a disease which is curable if someone is going to that extent. So that confidentiality taboo also has to be. We can easily discuss like, hey, Nasira, I had a problem yesterday. I was feeling so disturbed yesterday. What do you think about that? It's a simple discussion, but you need to have that trust.
Yeah.
Now, creating that trust is very, very difficult, particularly at the leadership level. And there is a classic saying on a trust, which I always like, is trust comes on the foot. I mean, trust comes walking, and trust lives on the horseback.
Mhm.
To create a
Okay.
trust, it takes a lot of time, but to break the trust, one moment is enough. And that's a Dutch proverb. So, how do you create that trust amongst your peer group that you can discuss the issue openly without bothering about the confidentiality of this thing? And I always nowadays I talk a lot about this issue is that board of directors also need to understand that your CEO or your CFO or your CEO, COO or CHRO for that matter, or CMO, CTO, whatever it is, CXOs, they are all human beings. They are not supermen or superwomen. They may go under some sort of issues. You be nice to them when in the board meeting. There's no harm in a chairman. Now I'm a global chairman, right? Different. There's no harm in asking someone, do you have any issue? Do you want to talk to me something else? Can we have a cup of coffee and discuss something rather than having a very tense discussion about the numbers and performance, why market share is going down? Discuss how is your family, what's happening in your life, what's happening on the cricket match. So make people comfortable to open up on certain issues.
Yeah. It also makes them so much. more approachable, that fear of being misunderstood, that fear factor goes, and so much of trust is built. There's some amount of warmth, and there's a sense of caring that
Yes.
that comes across, and that's
Yep.
so beautiful, which I wished more leaders knew, if they could connect
Yeah.
with their teams at a deeper level. What a difference it would be. Such great output. The
Yeah.
entire energy changes.
Yes. And you are the energy architect. You can change that.
Yeah.
You are changing that already by having this podcast with me to an extent.
Oh, thank you, Sunil. It's people like you that make it so meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, you know, as the energy architect, I am somebody who believes in a lot of inner work. And
Mhm.
I believe that uh, whatever you feel on the inside is what will actually come out as well. And in your experience, how does your emotional inner world, as a leader, affect the your external leadership style and your decision making process? Because when I look at it, it's like when you are like so solid from inside, when you've done the work inside with these reflections, um and you're strong internally, emotionally, and that is what comes out instead of the outside really affecting you. It's like what you give out. And as you as a leader, what has helped you in your leadership style?
Multiple things, and of course, it's a thought-provoking question. I'm a little bit reflecting now also that there are multiple things work, but one thing we all need to agree that our emotions are carried with us all point of time, right? Means what happens in the morning, if you go to the bathroom and there is no hot water coming in, you may change your emotion and it may carry for the whole day. I'm just giving an example. It's a bad
Right.
example, I know, but so you emotional mindset or emotional settings are carried over a period of time. You cannot switch on and switch off. It's not like button that you switch the AC off and switch the AC on. It is possible, but after a lot of practice. So first is leader need to accept that he or she is an emotional carrier in a good sense, right? Now, whatever emotions you had in your personal life, your family life, are carried to the office by default. Now, the beauty of leadership is that in spite of those things being with you, you have to forget them when you go to the office and you have to start behaving as if you are a leader, you are a great man with a lot of strengths and all those things. That's a difficult exercise. Now, how do you manage this? How do you balance this? Again, we are coming to the balancing act. And this balance is the most difficult balance. And that's why nowadays we talk that today's leadership style is empathetic leader, coaching style leadership, all those type of things. Previously, we used to call autocratic leader and this and that, whatever. How do you do this? Of course, there are many ways of doing this. Simple way of doing this is meditation. Uh, Meditation helps you to cool down, right? And different people have different interpretation of meditation. I'm just saying meditation has nothing to do with religion, any religion. Just sit down, close your eyes for 5-10 minutes. Try to release that energy, which is negative energy, if you want to say, and come to normalcy. I'm not saying bring positive energy. Plus come to zero level. Plus first come to level zero, right? And then start from that. Then it will pick up over a period of over a day as you progress in the office hours. That's one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is I always say that emotional expression. If you are going through a difficult emotion, write it down on a piece of paper. You might be sitting in the car, you might be sitting in the flight. You always have a pen and paper with you. But I would still say that write it by pen and paper, not on your mobile phone or not on your computer. There's
I
a difference in that. You know that, right? Write down your emotional expression. Whatever it comes to your mind, frustration, anger, whatever, confused. Many of us do not know how to put a nomenclature to our emotions.
Yeah.
We are, and when I say we, means all of us, we are sometimes so confused. We do not know what emotion is right now is sitting in my mind.
Mm.
To bring that emotion out of your brain and then mind on the piece of paper, it's a process. It will help you to release some sort of pressure onto you. Start that practice. Then we call journaling, right? What happened over a period of time in a day, sit at the evening or day, whenever you want, start journaling. Other thing which I practice personally is whenever I will go to my office, 15 minutes or half an hour in the morning, I will not meet anyone. No phone calls, no meetings, no emails, nothing. I just sit back, relax, think for the day, release my bad energy or take a deep breath, like whatever. Note it down what you want to do today and put some positive statement on a piece of paper on a like always try to find out a positive statement which will motivate me for that day.
Okay.
It's not easy to identify 365, but there are books nowadays, everything is available. But you should connect with that statement, not because it's a nice statement you're writing it down. You should connect internally. Write it down, put it on a screen or on your glass in the office, read it once or twice. And then after that reflection time of yours, then only start your meetings. Other thing of also is that if you think you have done a mistake, when I say mistake means you erred on something, you have done an error of something, there's no harm in going and saying sorry to someone. So saying thank you and saying thank you comes very naturally to us, but saying sorry is difficult.
Yeah.
So gratitude, saying sorry, going and telling people, hey, sorry, I think I was not very nice with you today. I'm very sorry for that. But you understand me. And then, so these type of things are simple things, but they will help you. These are some of the ways of doing the things. When you go home in the evening, now you have to do the reverse of that. You have to forget what happened in the office and you have come to the home. So again, a similar exercise, I would say that.
That was very powerful. In fact, that's a great strategy to start the day with that intention. And I don't know. I think I may do that as well. I mean, I do the reflection and everything, but getting a quote for the day, I think that's quite nice.
Yeah, I maintain a diary. Whenever I get a good quote, I will write it down and I will try to connect with that quote all the time. This trust one, which I told you just now, this is with me, sitting with me around 7 years now. We talk trust and trust, but one of the Dutch guy, when I was in Denmark or I was in Holland, I don't remember, he gave me this quote while talking. I liked it so much. So I carry these quotes and they are at the priority list in my diary. And then I have so many other quotes.
Very nice. And talking about energy, the energy that you bring into your leadership style, the people that you work with, while you are infusing, inspiring, motivating people to really think of beautiful possibilities for themselves and, getting the job done, taking all of these decisions, keeping that balance, keeping it all together. um, you know, it requires constant energy and presence.
Yep.
And I can only imagine that at, at the end of the day, or even in the middle of the day, your energy could be quite depleted because you spend so much of time and energy on this. And um, what do you do to really refuel yourself or replenish yourself with this energy that you are giving out? And what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and this is a constant struggle for most of the leaders. Most of the leaders, I would say, because you have to be energized at all point of time because you're inspiring, you're motivating thousands of people, and you're a human being. You will get tired at some point of time,
Yeah.
and I mean, we are all bound to happen. What I would say is that define the boundaries. What happens sometime in the spur of moment, you try to exert so much energy without knowing that you're crossing the boundary. I'm just a small example. Let's say I go to a shop floor in a manufacturing plant. I'm not I'm not accustomed to go and visit plant every day. I will visit plant as a leader maybe once in a 15 days, once in a month, and all those things. But I want to achieve so many things in that one day. And you're not accustomed to stand for 8 hours, right? You're a leader, you're sitting in the office, in the board meetings and this and that. And suddenly you go to the plant one day and you want to go to every single machine, meet every single union leader or laborer, or 8 hours you don't have that energy. But you forget that you are not accustomed to all this thing. You try to do that thing. And then at the evening, you realize when you sit in the car, oh my God, and you just sleep in the car, right? Now, because you have not set your boundaries, you need to set your boundaries. You can achieve the same energy by not spending 8 hours on the shop floor. Maybe spend 4 hours on the shop floor, 2 hours call the people for your meeting in your office, maybe 2 hours go to the canteen and have a open session, whatever you want to do. But there are different ways. So identifying and knowing your boundaries is the first thing. And as a leader, what happens? The moment you see so many people around you, you get a different level of energy and you forget your own energy, right? And then you start compromise. So that is one aspect, knowing that there are limits for everything in the life. So identifying the energy. Second thing is, I would say that whenever you do something, you have to ask yourself, what was the purpose of doing that thing?
Mhm.
Am I doing it for a specific purpose, or am I doing it to please the people? Or am I doing it to show to the people that I am a powerful leader or I am in control, right? That's good, not good thing. Ask the purpose. Why are you doing this? What are you going to achieve by doing? Is it in line with your overall vision, mission, you as an individual, you as a leader, you as an organization? Asking that question to you on a multiple times is very, very important. Most of us, what happens, we just forget those things. We become so transactional, we become so mechanical that we start compromising on the larger vision and the mission of the organization or your own mission. So revisiting your own mission, purpose, values is another way of controlling or containing your energy. Of course, third, fourth thing, I would say meditation definitely helps you. But I would say, what are your hobbies? Let's say, I'm just giving an example. You love playing golf. Let's say it's your hobby. But you have not played golf for last 3 months. How do you get that energy? Or you like, let's say, go and watch a nice movie with the family, but last 6 months, no time to go and watch a movie with the family. So energy depletion and energy activation are two things. On one side, you need to ensure that your energy is not depleted. On the other side, you need to ensure that your energy is activated. What happens is you only look at one aspect at a time, but it's again a balance. When it is getting depleted, you also need to activate. It's a fuel. So what is your fuel? Is it meeting friends? Is it going to a reunion once in a year? Taking breaks in between is an energy activation exercise. How often you take the, let's say, a 1 week break in a 15, in a 6 months, in a year? Or I remember, I can confess my vulnerability. When I was a leader for 30 years, I never took the full 1 month leave in my life. You know, we are entitled for 1 month leave. I never took 1 month. Because I said, no, I have to do the work. I have to achieve this. I have to achieve this. But then later part of my life, I started realizing that I'm wasting all my leaves. And as a leader, you don't want to go and encash your leaves or get the money. You're beyond all those things, right? But then I realized, so I went to Oxford. Then I realized, so Oxford was a 1 month residential program, first time in my life. But that was again for the work or enhancing my knowledge. But then I realized how much energy activation can happen. Take small breaks. I would even say in a month, take 1 or 2 days off. Go and do what you want to do. That's energy management. We talk sustainability of the world nowadays, ESG. Manage your own sustainability first.
Absolutely. Because what's inside is what's going to come outside, and that is what's going to really create the impact.
Yeah. It's a difficult one, but I think good thing is nowadays all the tools, resources, accessibility, right type of people, right type of groups are available. Make use of them.
You know, so they're talking about groups.
Yeah.
And building support systems for yourself.
Yeah.
As a global leader, how is it that you're able to really build these personal relationships and peer support? Um, it, this is when you're looking at, isolation as a leader.
Yeah.
And, you know, the one thing that I feel is missing, or maybe it was missing at one point, and maybe now there has been a change, is really cultivating meaningful connections outside of work. Because leaders don't really know the people whom they work with, outside of their workplace. And some people are also unable to disconnect and again connect outside of work. So when you talk about building personal, meaningful connections, what would your advice be?
So this is a very interesting phenomena. Most of us do not practice very well. And of course, again, I always come back, no one teaches you all these things, right? We are talking because we have crossed the waters, we have experience, and that's why we are talking all these things. You go to any new leader, young leader, they may not know all these things. Now, creating support system or support network, peer group, whatever you want to call, is very, very essential, not only from a isolation point of view, but even from energy point of view, success point of view, growth point of view, everything means I would say that is one thing which is missing in the leadership, most of the leadership places or leaders. Now, I personally believe, and we make this statement, big statement, your network is your net worth, right? That's a very commonly made statement. I really take it very seriously. And I make it a point, I network with the people. And now, network does not mean just to go and say hello to someone or send a LinkedIn request to someone. No, I don't believe in that. Networking and connecting with the people with the intention of how this person is going to help me in my life. I'm still not going to the mentoring. I'm still stage before mentoring. But everyone, for example, if I know Nasira, what value Nasira can add in my life? I go and network with that intention. In the same way, if Nasira wants something from me, what can I give back to Nasira? It's a give and take. It's not a one-way traffic. Network with the people with that intention in mind. And networking is the most difficult and costly affair. When I say costly, means monetarily, time-wise, and all those things. But it's a very, very essential skill for the leaders to network. So having a multiple networks. Now, one is, of course, your own network within your organization, your own support group. Let's say you are in a pharmaceutical industry, there is a, let's say, pharma industry group. I always believe that you should connect with the support groups who has nothing to do with you. Go to a totally unknown person and network with them. They will add more value to you. And I always say that being a mentor is always a mentor, but try to get a mentor who is outside your organization.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So having a support network, prioritizing. So once you have created your network, you have to prioritize. What do you need? So at this point of time, let's say I'm going through a specific problem. I do not understand. Let's say anything. Let's say time management. And I know someone who is in my network, who is an excellent guy in time management. Go to him, go to her, ask her, can you give me your some words of wisdom about the time management? Why he or she will not help you if you have a good relationship? So I always say prioritize the relationship and not only outside, even within family.
Mhm.
Within family also you have to prioritize the relationship. Of course, your close family, your husband, wife, children, that is by default they are close. But within your family, you may have so many people who are capable to advise you. Don't bring your ego inside that. Ego plays a huge uh, disaster in our life. I don't want to get into psychology of ego and all those things, but we have, as a leader, we carry a lot of ego. You have to forget that ego. That's another one. Other one, I would say that cultivate diverse interests is also very important. I mean, you cannot be only doing work, work, and work all the time. Right? Think of giving back to the society. Think of going and teaching in a university or college where you are alumni of some university. Or why don't you go and teach there? Don't charge them anything. But the amount of satisfaction you will get. And that support group. Now, again, I'm saying that is a support group. But you do not look it at us. Look it as a support group. I would say look at it as a support. Whenever you want, you should pick up a phone, call the principal or the dean of the university. Hey, I'm available on this Friday afternoon between 2 to 4. Can I come and sit with your students or talk to them, share my experiences, share my knowledge? Why would they say no? But if you have developed the right type of relationship, so
Right.
create that support network. And of course, I would say very, very important, I personally believe is lifelong learning. If you want to be able to create your support system, why people go and do MBA in Harvard and Stanford's and ISBs of the world? Of course, education degree is one part. Most important is the networking, the type of alumni, the type of people who are with you. And that's why I went to Oxford, right? I still have a relationship with my Oxford alumni after 15 years also. So lifelong learning is both, which will add knowledge to you, which will add skills to you, but it will also give you a new network. And balancing all the time these networks, knowing at what time to reach to whom, it's an art, right? Let's say, for example, I have 15,000 connections on LinkedIn, but how many of them I know to reach out when I require, when it is required? That's an art. So have you developed a mechanism to reach out to the people at right point of time? And mentoring, of course, I mean, there is no compromise on mentoring. I give all my success in leadership and life is only to my mentors, not to my, of course, education and all those things are secondary, but having the right mentors at the right point of time. So I always say that keep looking for mentors. You cannot be satisfied with one mentor. I have 4 mentors as of now. So you need to have right type of mentor. And I also jokingly say that identifying a right mentor is not a speed dating. It takes time. You may take 1 year to identify a right mentor, but once a mentor, always a mentor. So find right mentor. So I think these are some of the way of building the support system so that you remain grounded all the time.
Yeah, wonderful. I can really vouch for that. Finding the right mentors, that's been a game changer. Um, it's so valuable. Um, so Sunil, I have seen you know, the wonderful work that you're doing, and as you said, you've grown so much over the last 30 years, and how much is your personal identity really linked with the work that you do? You know, how do you maintain a sense of self that is separate from the role that you hold within organizations? Because there is the self, and then there is the leader. And I know so many leaders who their entire identity is attached with their designation and the power that they believe they have. So, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, it is the, so I always use this terminology with great, what is that the Spider-Man says, no? With the great power comes great accountability or something like that. That I'm forgetting that quote now. With great power comes great responsibility or something like that.
Brings responsibility, yeah.
Because what happens is, and this is a classic question really, I'm just reflecting on. I have seen many leaders who get so carried away in their position as a leader that they lose their personal identity.
Yeah.
And when I have seen, I don't want to give examples, but many of them. And when I was growing up as a manager to the CFO, to the CEO, and I could say that these people don't have personal life. They don't have anything else to do in their life, right? And I have seen some leaders who are so good in managing the both sides, right? Self and leadership. One thing I would say that one has to, everyone has to remember that when you go into the office or when you go to the whatever meetings, then only you are a leader or you're a boss or whatever it is. Once you get out of that office, whatever, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you have to remove that hat of CEO, CXO, CEO, and try to become a normal. It's a difficult one. I know it's not easy one. I have seen many people failing on that. How do you do that? That's a big question. or big dilemma in their mind. So that is one thing. Second thing is that try to do what you used to do when you were not leader.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens, we change our habits, we change our way of working, way of behavior the moment we become the leader. We forget that you were a human being or you were a manager at some point of time. You transition from manager to a leader. You're not born as a CEO or whatever. So good things you were doing when you were there, just still do those good things. So how to go back and do that thing? That's another thing. Third thing is, I always believe, ask the purpose. Ask to yourself, who am I today? What was me yesterday? And what I would like to be today. Do I want people to remember me as a CEO of a company or as a good human being in a leadership? Most of people forget that. I agree with you that as a leader, sometimes you have to take tough decisions, right? So you use wear the hat of a autocratic or a stern leader. But at the end of the day, I just give an example is like, for example, when there are floods or there are earthquakes, there are problems in the organization, you have to think as a human being. Maybe you are not impacted by those things, but there are hundreds of people who are impacted by. So I'll give you an example. Like when I was running the organization in Singapore, I was around 1,000 people under me, 5 companies, 5 countries, and there was a problem like floods and earthquake. And my CHRO came to me saying that, sir, 100 families in our business got impacted. What do you want me to do? So I at that time realized that I'm not only managing 100 employees, I'm managing 100 families. So on these 100 people, there are 3 to 4 people depending. They all got impacted. And then obviously we identified what was the loss. Someone lost his scooter, someone lost his refrigerator. So we bought all those things. We made a list of all those things from a company side and gave it to the employees free of course, as a donation or whatever. But so as a leader, you need to always remember that you are also vulnerable. You may also get under problem at some point of time. And that time, your leadership position is not going to help. Your humanity is going to help. And if you forget that human aspect, then you will always have. There's some of them, there are a lot of things which comes to my mind, but yeah. And I always believe that you need to have someone in your life with whom you can go and surrender, right? I'm a little bit going philosophical now. It doesn't mean anything to do with the religion or your belief in God, or it doesn't. Surrender is surrender. So, do you have someone in your life like that? It could be a tree. On your screen, you have a nice banyan tree. Just go and sit under the banyan tree and surrender. Agree that you have made mistakes. Repent. And that's Buddhism, right? I don't want to go to religion, but some of the so beautiful things have been discussed in philosophy. And at this end, at this point of time, I am studying philosophy now. I realize that I should have studied philosophy a long time back. But there is a time for everything. Right? So surrender is another, and which is other thing which we do in Indian legacy system or India. We have Guru Shishya Parampara. I don't know. Of course, mentor mentee is sort of that, but in a real sense, if you follow the Guru Shishya Parampara, you have a guru to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
You have someone. So that's why I've said not a guru per se as a guru, but you have to have someone. Do you have someone like that? Identify that guru and try to surrender in front of him or her.
Do you ever have this? Do you ever have people like old friends coming and telling you, "Arey yaar, Sunil, you've changed." An old friend.
Yes and no. So I look at that as it's classic. So I returned to India after 17 years living abroad, right? So I was very excited when I came to India. And I called all my friends, right? Every single friend for dinner, lunch, whatever, right? And then I realized, like you said, people are saying, Sunil, you have changed. So then those people who told me that I have changed, I asked them, can you please define what is changing me? What happens? Most of the people are able to put a finger to the commercial things rather than the real things. Hey, you're driving this car, or you're staying in a big flat, all those type of things. I said, no, no. Don't bring those things. That is immaterial. You tell me as a human being what is changing.
Mm.
But then I realized over a period of 17 years, there's a huge change in the society, right? And my identity of those people, means those people who ask me those type of things, I started reflecting on my own. Are they my really good friends? Those who did not ask me anything about all those things, but they just enjoyed time with me and I enjoyed time with them, they are maybe my good friends. So it's a difficult one, but I agree. It's a human nature, right? To compare, and you and me can't stop that. Comparison is not bad, but if comparison is creating what you can say distance between you,
Yeah,
comparison.
sure. So, Sunil, I just love our conversation so far, and I'm really curious to know if you had to pinpoint that one element, your secret sauce,
Hmm.
that has been absolutely crucial in your success despite every challenge and stress of this leadership hat that you wear. What would that be?
Yeah, and this is an interesting question. I have been thinking on this a lot for last so many years. One thing which comes very immediately to top of mind. No, we call in marketing what is top of mind, Tom. So my Tom is common sense, and I a little bit call it a sense making. I extend that phrase from a common sense to sense making, and sense making is a skill. And I have written a book along with some Oxford University professors on the sense making. I can share that with you later on. I've written a full chapter on mastering the power of sense making. How do you make sense of what's happening around you? So I always thought that my biggest strength is knowing what's happening around me before someone else knows and acting on that, not only knowing, acting and changing. So it comes to adaptability. How do you adapt to that situation? I think that's number one. Second thing, biggest thing which played a huge role in my life is my humor. I take things sometimes or many times very lightly in the sense humor. I use humor to reduce the pressures, to reduce the tension, not only on me or with me, but even in the board meetings, I crack the joke. And people say, how can you crack a joke in a board meeting? It's a serious thing. You can't be cracking jokes there. So I can tell you an interesting joke I made recently in my board meeting. I said, they said a particular market is growing at a very high speed and particular market is not growing. So I said, does that mean that you need to have a global chairman from that market this time? So, so it's taken satirically, but differently. So I use humor and I think humor has played a huge role in my life. Means in McDonald's, I remember when I was making a presentation in Singapore, long time back, and I made a presentation. After presentation, one of the CFOs of the, I don't remember, European CFO came to me and told me, Sunil, you should not be designated as a CFO of India. You should be designated as a CHO. I said, what do you mean by CHO? I said, Chief Happiness Officer.
Oh.
So I use humor. Sometimes humor bounce backs to you in it's not good. People don't like sometimes. You have to understand. So third thing I'm saying is cultural competence. So I lived in 5 countries. I traveled across. So I know that I believe that cultural competence is very important. What to say? Like for example, if you go into Nordic countries, how to start the meetings, right? When you go to America, what works there and what does not work there. So I believe in all those things, cultural competence, how cultures collide, all those type of things. Other thing I would say, always having a growth mindset. Learn. Continuously think that, oh, I don't know this. Like, let's say artificial intelligence. I don't know artificial intelligence. Sustainability. I don't know sustainability. So that learning mindset, the curiosity, never kill your curiosity. And be grounded, be nice with the people, and also believe enjoy the life. Not only hard work is very important, but work hard and play hard also. So I enjoy life. I travel, and I spend money on my education even today. Every year I do one qualification, and this is my internal rule. So I save money for that, in addition to
Wow.
buying the Apple phone or whatever it is. And I save my holidays to go and learn things. But this
Wow.
I have been able to do for last 7, 8 years, not before that. So just some of the things I would say that secret sauce of success or something like that, if you want to call
Amazing, Sunil. Lots to take back home. And what would your advice be to aspiring leaders about preparing for less visible challenges of leadership, like loneliness and stress? How do you think that they could build resilience early on so that they are able to really, sail through this?
I would say the aspiring leaders first very important thing is they need to accept that we are all vulnerable, and they cannot believe that they are supermen or superwomen. They have to accept that as a leader, I am allowed to make a mistake, and as a leader, if I make a mistake, I should go and say sorry, or I need to say I'm good. That's first thing. If you believe that you are the perfectionist, you will never make a mistake. That's a problem. So vulnerability is one. Second thing is definitely the growth mindset. You have to continuously grow. It is once you go and sit in that chair of leadership, do not believe that now I am done in my life and there's nothing else for me to do except managing the business and all those things. So growth mindset, learning new things, skills development and all those things is very important. Third thing is, of course, from a mental side and all those things, self-reflection. We have become so transactional in the life today. And when I say we, means all of us, including the leaders. Everything is a transaction to us. People do not have time for themselves. So have that time for yourself, maybe half an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, 1 hour a day, depending on. Reflect upon what's happening in your life. What are you doing? So the self-reflection helps you to sort of cool down. I call it cooling down effect. Have a mentor in life. Very, very important. In today's leadership, if you do not have a mentor, you're nowhere. Mentoring and mentorship is the future. So identify a mentor, keep identifying mentor. It's a continuous process. And once a mentor, always a mentor, ensure that your mentoring relationship over a period of time grows and grows and grows. Other than that, I would definitely say that establish boundaries. You know, don't try to do everything in life. We sometimes think that I'm sitting at the top, I should do this, I should. Don't try to do impossible things. And celebrate small wins. Every small win, small achievement, you need to celebrate. And these are some of the things I would say that to be a successful leader in today's world. Of course, common sense and sense making is very, very important. You need to know what's happening around you. If there is a war between Israel and Iran happening today, how it is going to impact your business, you should know right away. Not someone will come and you will appoint a big four to do the analysis of your business and they will give you a report after 3 months. Those days are gone. The speed of light, you have to take the decisions. And last one, believe in your intuition. Trust your intuition. Some point of time, all these things what we are talking in the world, they're of no use to you. Your intuition, your gut will tell you what's right and wrong, but you need to understand and learn how to listen to your intuition.
Wonderful. Sunil, this conversation has been so insightful for me. Um, you have brought so many dimensions to this. We took up on a small topic like loneliness and leadership, and you have really touched upon so many virtues that make it so wholesome. Like reflections and humility and humor and agile and um, seriously, more power to you. And at the same time, you're so humble, where you say you need a mentor, and you can say sorry, and you connect with people. And I think that is creating so many ripples of impact for you. You really do create these ripples of impact through through this inside out approach.
Thank you. Thank you very much giving me an opportunity to speak with you. And I really like the entire conversation. I'm happy to be of any help to you or to the listeners of this program whenever they will listen and they want to connect with me. Please do connect with me. I enjoy connecting people, talking to them, helping them whenever possible, wherever possible.
Wonderful. I will share your contact details
It's
when I'm putting this podcast out. And to the audience, I would really highly recommend connecting with Sunil. He's a very, very busy person. So it will take a little bit of time connecting with him. But trust me when I tell you that you will connect. And yeah, let him show you the light and help you move ahead and get unstuck in life. Sunil, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for making the time, taking the time out from your busy schedule and showing up and talking to us.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
My
Atman.
pleasure. Have a great day.